came to me I think it was last week, is that right? And had something to share with on his heart that we used to do way back with some Bible study. So he wants to share a little bit with some things, and so I'm going to ask Lee to come on up and give us the message that God has laid upon his heart.
I want to talk to you about two things this morning, if I can. Number one, by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the book of Job? Everybody pretty familiar with the book of Job? Okay, disclaimer, I'm not a preacher. This is one man's opinion on the book of Job, okay? Number two, how many of you, by a show of hands, have ever attended the McMillan family Friday nights? We used to have a Bible study down there. Whether you went one time, 100 times, every time, how many of you ever been there? Okay, all of you with your hands up right now. They're going to be my witness when this is done, that this is what took place. So after I'm done, I want to talk about it. I was interested in going to that Bible study. I was invited there by Tony and Stacy. Stacy and my wife was best friends at the time, and I'm sure there's many people in here that can say the same thing, that they were best friends with Stacy at the time. So they invited me out, and said we're going to have a Bible study, and I asked them what it was on, and they told me the book of Job. I thought, oh my goodness, what a book to start with. I'm kind of a Bible virgin here, and they're going to go with the book of Job. And as you know about the book of Job, you know that it's devil and God talking. And they're kind of using Job as a pawn, right? Inside of their little competition there. And I kept thinking over and over that if God can use somebody like Job, as righteous as he is, he could surely use me as a pawn, or anybody in this room or anybody in that group. So I wanted to go there and see what their opinion was. I wanted to go see if I was seeing the same thing. Okay? So we know how the book of Job starts out, right? They start telling us about Job and how he is the most righteous man on the planet, right? And this is a good-looking guy, man. He's got the looks of Richard Clem there. He's been blessed with 10 children. He has 7 sons and 3 daughters. He has an abundance of children like the Alvarado family has right here. It goes into detail about all of his flock. He's got 3,000 camels. He's got 700 thousands of sheep. It even talks about how many female and how many male donkeys he has. He has everything to run his business like Charlie Hudson back there. It says he's the wealthiest man on the planet. By far the wealthiest person, like the Heritage family right here. He has all of the money. If you ever need anything, talk to them right there. Job also has all of his family living with him, right? They all live on the compound. Matter of fact, when they're talking about Job, they said that Job is in his tent, he lights incense, and he prays for his children in the morning after they do things at night, just in case they offend God. But they have this compound there, right? They all live under one roof. Who's that? The King family, right? Everybody living there. So this is Job, and Job is the most righteous man on the planet. So it starts out with, that's my baby brother right there. So it starts out in the Bible, and it is God, and it's the devil. And God calls all of his angels together, and he's having a meeting. And I'm guessing Job's late for the meeting because he kind of comes strolling in like George Jefferson. And God says, where have you been? Devil says, I've been down on the earth. I've been going to and fro. He said, well, surely if you've been down on earth, you have seen my most humble servant, Job. And the devil fires back with, well, sure, it's easy to bless Job for Job to be proud of your name and preach your gospel all over the land. You give him everything. Everything he touches turns to gold. He's got abundance of kids, plenty of money. Surely, if you can take that away from him, Job will curse your name to your face. God says, nope, he's humble. Matter of fact, you can go down there on earth. You can do anything you want to do with Job, but you can't harm a hair on his head. So he goes down there and he creates all of this chaos. And if you're familiar with the book of Job, it comes in, a servant comes running up to Job and tells Job, he says, we've just been attacked. They have killed all of our servants and all the camel has disappeared. And it says before he could get that out of his mouth, another servant come running in and said, hey, we've been up on the hill, the cows were eating, they're gone, you just lost it all. And before he could get that out of his mouth, another servant come running in and telling him, everything we have left is gone. It's gone. He just lost his entire business. He doesn't even have time to process what's going on in his life, and a fourth servant comes running in and said a storm's been brewing, and it came through and it wiped out the tent and it wiped out all of your children. Now imagine getting that news and you're trying to process it. But what does Job do? He stays faithful, sheds off all of his clothes, he shaves his hair, and he drops it down to his knees. And he said, I came into this world with nothing, I will leave this world with nothing. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Amen? Amen. So the next day, or whenever it is, God's having another meeting. He's got all of his angels in there, right? So once again, I'm guessing the devil's late because he comes strolling in. And the God says, where have you been? He says, I've been down on earth. I've been going to and fro. Well, if you've been down there, then obviously you know that you did all that to Job, and Job still stayed loyal to me. You know what the devil said at that time? Skin for skin. Oh, it's easy. It's easy for Job to praise your name. He still has his health. With his health, he can build back his wealth. With his health, he can build back his family. Now you go ahead and you take his health from him, and surely he will cuss you to your name. Cuss your name to your face. Not cuss. Okay, so he goes down there and tells the devil, go down there on earth, do whatever you want to do. You cannot kill him. So as we know in the story, devil goes down there and he puts boils all over Job from head to toe. And it says with these boils that they're bleeding and their pus is coming out and the worms are coming out and it stinks. And it's horrible. And at one time, Job says, the smell is so bad that my wife can't even stand the smell of my own breath. And he's feeling bad. How many of you in here are married? So you understand if your husband's going through something or your wife is going through something, you're going through it too, right? So not only did Job lose his entire business, not only did Job lose his entire family, his wife also lost all this. Now she's watching her husband and he's down with all these boils and he's at the worst time in his life. And she leans down and she tells him, just curse God and die. It's all over. You had enough. Quit suffering. It's okay. Give up and die. But what does Job do? He says, absolutely not. Did we curse God when God was giving us all these riches? Did we get upset when God was giving us all of our servants? When God was giving us all of our camels? When God was giving us everything? Did we curse God when God was allowing us to raise his children? We didn't do it then. We're not going to do it now. But Job's suffering, and he's going through it at this time. And he's suffering, and it's bad. It's bad. And Job even gets to the point where he's so upset that he starts almost cursing the day he was born. He's questioning the day he was born. He asks God, why would you bring me to this point in the world just to do this to me? Why would you let me be born? Why would you not kill me in the womb and allow me to be stillborn? That's what he's saying at this time. He's suffering, and he's going through it, and his wife is going through with him. Now, in the meantime, he has 3 friends come in to visit him. Everybody familiar with that? 3 friends come in to visit Job at the time, and when they first get there, they see it as they normally would. Oh man, here's my friend, and he's suffering. And they're praying for him. And it's silence for a few days. Then after a few days, the friends start asking questions. And they say to Job, surely you did something wrong. I mean, you've been preaching to us that evil brings evil, good brings good. Obviously, you did something wrong to put yourself in this position right here. And Job says, I did nothing wrong. I'm an innocent man. I've been condemned. God's doing this to me, but he doesn't know why. And his friend said, obviously you did something wrong. Maybe you took advantage of an orphan child and you took one of his donkeys. Maybe you took advantage of a widow woman and didn't treat her right. Maybe you had a bad business deal. And Job gets mad at his friends. And he says, you know what? You think you're so smart. All three of you think you're the wisest men on the planet. Matter of fact, if you three died today and you went off, all the wisdom on the land would go with you. And that's where he's at. But Job's upset. And now he's starting to question, why did God do this to me? I did everything right. These people over there can do whatever they want. They get to live however they want. They don't get punished. Matter of fact, if God was here right now today, I would ask God why he's doing this to me. I want to see God face to face, right? But what do they say? Be careful what you wish for, right? Because God came down and he wanted to talk to Job, right? And the only thing that I can think about in my mind when God came down and talked to Job. Now keep in mind one thing. We had the luxury of knowing when we're reading this book that we know God and the devil is testing Job. They don't know that. The three friends don't know that. Job doesn't know it. His wife doesn't know it. No one knows it but those two. So God comes down and he's going to talk to him. And I see it like Pastor Ted would talk to one of his boys when they're about 15 years old. You're not old enough to drive. You're not old enough to work. You don't pay any bills in this house, but you're going to question me. Do you know where the food comes from? Do you know when you go to the hospital and I got to take you there? You know who pays for it? You know who keeps the lights on? You know who keeps the roof over your head? They don't know any of that because they're 15 years old. And that's how God talked to Job. And he started asking him all these questions. Do you know how the earth stays up there? Do you know how the lightning works? Do you know why clouds don't fall out of the sky? Do you know how I create thunder so that I can warn the animals and the cattle that there's a storm about to come? And Job starts to get humble right then and there. Now, Job's seeing God and he's going through all of this. I want to take you guys back to our Friday night Bible study. Now, our Friday night Bible study, when we showed up there and they asked us to get there, we had something good going on. We would get there, we would cook, we had fellowship, we had Bible study, kids were playing. It was a good thing. But in our group, we had some things going on. We had a young lady in our group. She was going through financial problems. Everybody in the group got together, put together some money, gave her a love offering, right? We had some family members dealing with health issues. We had one gentleman in our group that he was in the process of losing his wife, and he was losing his house, and he was dealing with that. We had another family member. Their child was getting ready to move out of the house, and they were so upset because they knew that that girl wasn't ready to go out there and face this cruel world, and that upset them. Myself, I was going through, my son at the time was going through some difficulty, and I had got custody of the two grandbabies. So everybody in that group was going through something at the time. And we was going through it. And I can picture like how God and the devil was up there. I could picture the devil over here looking at our group and saying, you know what? They got something big going on over there. They got something big. I need to get involved quick because they got all these little things going on in their life, but it's not breaking them yet. Because they got something big going on in that Bible study, and everybody's showing up at that Bible study because God says where two or more is gathered in my name, that's a church, right? Amen? And there we was, week after week, and the devil's looking in there going, man, there's something big. You know how it's big? Because they were giving up their Friday night dance nights. They were giving up their Friday night drinking nights. They were giving up their Friday night date nights. They gave up Friday night baseball nights. They were giving up everything to be there and be part of the Word. I have to do something, and I have to do something quick to break it up. Now, if you got to think like the devil, and you got to think like the enemy, out of everybody that was involved in that group, who is the one that you would attack? And the devil come in and found one to attack. And that one was Miss Stacy. And she was a mother. She was a wife. She was a daughter. She was a friend of many. Everybody in that group was directed to that group by her. She had invited us out because, like I said, we was either friends, we were related, something happened, but that was the one that brought us all together. And when we got that news that Stacy was the one that was sick, we got it. We was in Sevierville, and we started driving back. First phone call we got was a horrible phone call. So Miss Stacy been rushed to the hospital. We have to get there right now. So we get in our car, we start flying back. Next phone call I got was from Miss Chelsea. She said, Dad, I don't care where you're at, come back faster. They just gave Stacy a 5% chance to live. Now you can't hide that sadness. You can't hide that. I had the 2 little girls in the car with me. I had my 2 nieces with us. Tammy's crying, I'm crying, we're flying back. I don't know how long it took us to get back, but it seemed forever. And we get back and we go to the hospital. And we're up there and we're in the hospital. And I see Tony going around and he's in this fog and he's kind of talking to people and different ones. And we've been to the back and we came out. And I was standing there and it was me and I believe Tony's brother and Pastor Dan. And I was crying and I was upset. And I said, you know what? I couldn't be as brave as Tony is. I couldn't do it. If that was my wife laying back there, I don't know what I would do. Pastor Dan put his hand on my chest right there. And he said, God does not give you the strength before you need it, but he gives you the strength when you need it. Amen? Now at the time, he might as well said, hip hop, hip it to the bibby, don't stop rocking to the boogie to beat. Because that's all it sounded like at the time. It meant absolutely nothing. So we move forward and we go ahead. And we bury Miss Stacy. And then the next morning we had early sunrise service. It was the worst Easter that we've ever went through. And that's why I want to talk about it now. It's been 2 years. It's time we talk about it. Okay? So it was the worst Easter that we had. Matter of fact, during that time period, we were driving to work and we was talking about getting a new house, my wife and I. And Tammy, she looked at me and she said, Lee, if we do move and you decide to go to a new church, I'll support you 100%. And I said, absolutely not. You folks were brought into my life to make me a better person. I'm not going anywhere. You're not going to get rid of me. How's that sound? So I said, I'm going to stay where I'm at. And we stayed here. And we tried to keep our Bible study together. We tried. Miss Sheila picked up the slack. She started cooking. She kept the menu together. And we just tried. But one by one, people fell off. And they continued to go. And you could see the devil's hand at work. Each one being struck by tragedy. Each one being there. A few months later, I got the worst phone call any parent could ever get. And that was the phone call that my son was called home to heaven. And I lost my son. And it's a fog. You're in it. You hear yourself say things. You hear yourself talk about funeral. You hear yourself calling family members. You see yourself doing it, but it's like you're numb. And then it dawned on me that when he had his hand on my chest and he said, at the time, God doesn't give you the strength before you need it, but when you need it. And when I needed it, I figured out what it was. It is that fog. It is that numbness that you feel. And I hope none of you ever have to feel it. But that's what it is. So that's where we was in our life. And I had to make a decision just like Job. And I was mad at the devil. I was mad at God. I was looking for somebody to blame. I blamed everybody, including myself, for what was going on in my life. Like, what did I do? Right? You start wondering all that. And God has to come into your life, and God has to give you that talking to. And then you got to realize at one point, you're either going to be mad the rest of your life, or you're going to sit up and you're going to say, you know what? Thank God that he put Miss Stacy in our life. For 20 years, my wife had a best friend. If somebody come to me today and said, hey, for $1, I'm going to let this girl be your wife's best friend for 20 years, I'm all in. I thank God that God gave me 29 great years, well, 25 good years with my son. 4 of them were kind of tough, okay? He gave me 29 years, and I was so excited about that. And I had to turn it around and say, you know what? I am truly blessed, and I thank God for what he did for me in my life. Now, we all know the book of Job, is that right? We all know the book of Job, and we know that Job, in the book of Job, it has a happy ending, right? And I want to go back for a minute, because I want to talk about the devil when he's working. And I know that the devil's over here, but for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So I know in the world that I have the devil over here working against me. And what I want to say about that is, I don't care what your political views is about Donald Trump's wall, but I'm going to tell you about Lee Woodward's wall. I want a wall that's so high that the devil can't get over, and I want a wall that's so thick that the devil can't get through it. Is that amen? Amen. That's what I want. But in the book of Job, there is happy endings, right? Here it is. It's 2 years later, almost 2 years later, that all of this started from our Bible study to today. And earlier in the story, we heard Job say that God giveth and God taketh away. But for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? If God takes away, does not God give back? And in the book of Job, did he not get paid back double? Yes. Did he not get everything back? Tony, BJ, stand up. When Tony was going through this, he lost his wife. He had a son and he had a daughter. Today, that's their family. He's got a new wife, he's got a new son, and a new daughter. He's been paid back twofold. Is that God working right there? Yes. Amen. Amen. Have a seat. Shannon and Jay, where's that beautiful baby? They were going through some tough times back then. Look right there. Is that God working right there? Amen. 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 Look at Pastor Ted over there with them two boys, them two young men that were in our class. Stand up, guys. Those are two grown men now that he's raising back there. Where's the other one? That's God working right there. That really is. Listen, you see these two girls right here? See Haley Bug? See baby girl? God took my son, but he gave me those two right there. That's God working right there. Did I get an amen on that? And I wish they could be here because I want to share one more story. Jeremy and Chrissy. Everybody know Jeremy and Chrissy? You follow them on Facebook? Do they look great or what? They lost all that weight. They were going through trouble and with their health, and they were going through it during our class. And Jeremy and Chrissy both had surgery. They lost all that weight, and they're back. And a year ago, it's been almost a year ago because it was after camp. We was all over at West Church, is it? Was at West Church getting ready to watch the program. And I saw Jeremy. And I said, Jeremy, I am so proud of you, man. You look great. You lost so much weight. It's incredible. He said, Lee, I want to share a story with you. And I wish he was here to back it up. He said, when Chrissy used to ask me for something, I was sitting on the couch. And when she would ask me for it, I would literally calculate in my head how many steps it was going to take to get from this part of the room to that part of the room. I calculated in my mind how much damage it was going to do to my body and how tired I was before I would get those items for her. He said, but now that I lost my weight, he said, Chrissy starts to ask me for something, and I'm halfway across the room, and I get to pick it up, and I run it back, and I'm halfway back over there before she told me what she even wants. Is that a great story? Amen? And the reason I love that story, because that's life. That's life. That's every single day that we put on them pounds of negativity. We put on them pounds and we just put, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the best car. I don't have the best house. There's some people in here that thinks that their life would be better if they were dead than alive. There's people in here that think, I don't have enough kids. I don't have this. I don't have that. And they keep building all this weight on them. And it weighs them down, and you can see it in their shoulder, and you can see how they act. But it's not until we can shed all of those pounds of negativity, shed all of those pounds that the devil puts on us. It's not until we can fix what's on the inside that we can start fixing what's on the outside. Because you can get a shiny new car. You can get a shiny new boat. You have all the money in the world. But if you're not happy on the inside and you get all the money, all you're going to do is complain about how much taxes you got to pay, right? Amen. So it's up to us. What I wanted to say here, it's up to us to start rebuilding the church. It's up to us to start rebuilding our Bible study groups. It's up to us to start coming together more as a group. And I can see it happening already. Week after week after week, more and more people are start coming to church. Amen. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. God bless you. Have a great week. Thank you very much.